And hi, everyone, wherever you are joining us from. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning. Thank you for the great presentation once again, Farouk. Introduction. So let's go straight to business. First, I will give a brief overview of what the weakest link for an organization is. First, by introducing the information system of a typical organization, and then we'll look at how the weakest link can be secured or tightened, and then we'll look at possibility of research collaboration based on the existing challenges, and then there will be opportunity for questions and answers, as Farouk mentioned. As I mentioned, information system is an integral part of any organization, especially the one that collects, process, store, and distribute information for decision making. So such an organization normally have some components that makes up the information system. For instance, you have hardware components, you have the software aspect of it, you have a data component, you have the network component, and then you have the people, and then finally you have the procedures, policies that are used to govern all other components of the information system. And it is not a breaking news that organizations are being attacked, or they are target of malicious actors. The actors target any of these components. For instance, you have malwares are used, specific softwares are used to damage some devices. You have the use of ransomware in order to block some organizations' files and settings in order to extort them. And then you also have issues of execution of malicious code. For instance, SQL injection in order to reveal sensitive data. You also have the denial of service attack, whereby the network of an organization is being flooded with traffic in order to drain the resources and also reduce the bandwidth. Again, you also have the issue of insider threats, which involve errors and malicious activities by humans. So this is the human component of the organization. So you have the employees, you have end users, you can even have consultants, those that are not even within the organization. So, and then you also have issues such as poor security policies. So all these are issues that are affecting a typical organization, and each organization has its security system or posture meant to defend its information system. So we can see that these parts, there are multiple parts. You have the endpoint security, network security, internet security, cloud security, wireless security. All these are various components of security and defense in order to be able to ensure that the organization is not penetrated by bad actors. For instance, some organizations utilize special softwares for email security, VPNs, encryption, and anti-malware, as well as data loss protection tools. We also have the use of firewalls, intrusion detection systems in order to protect organization servers, databases, and APIs. And you also have several protocols that are being used, such as the HTTPS, SSL certificates, WEP and WPA. All these are protection schemes that organizations use in order to protect these several components. In fact, some organizations utilize end-to-end systems such as CM, security information and event management, in order to monitor threats, in order to find if there are unusual activities going on and prevent this from happening. So this depends on the organization. However, there's something that is important and central, that all these parts of security systems have to work together in concert. So the security of the entire information system of an organization is as strong as its weakest link. And the weakest link can be any of these components. It could be endpoint security. So if the endpoint security is very weak, it means the entire architecture of the organization can easily be affected or can be attacked by malicious actors. Now, an interesting question is, what is the weakest link? From a security standpoint, several research has shown that humans, the end users, tech support staff, infrastructure admins, and as mentioned previously, including those that are external to the organization, maybe third parties that work with the organization, for instance, consultants, they are considered the weakest link in an organization. Another question is why? So the rise of social engineering is a big issue because of the wide usage of social media. Social engineers, later we'll have a 2-minute video that explains who a social engineer is and how a social engineer is able to use psychological tactics and mind tricks in order to lure people, for instance, employees of an organization, into releasing information that usually or normally they don't release it. Some social engineers utilize our emotions, our fear, our urgency, and our tendency to trust people, tendency to help. Some of the emotions that are actually good are being utilized by social engineers in order to detect vulnerabilities in an organization and attack the organization. Again, incentives such as the desire to be rich in an easy way are being utilized, peer pressure, and our leanings towards an ideology. So our religion can be used as a means by social engineer in order to penetrate into an organization. We'll later see how that will happen. Another issue is insider threats. So this is very important and this is very difficult to trace. You have human errors, and then you have employees that have privileged access that either intentionally or unintentionally or maliciously uses such privileges. So these are key to why social engineering is on the rise. And I had a look at some recent data breach reports. For instance, I looked into Verizon's 2021 data breach investigation report. The report analyzes more than 29,000 incidents, and it was confirmed that more than 5,000 of such incidents were confirmed breaches. They found out that there are up to eight threat patterns in the reports that was analyzed, in the data that was analyzed in the incidents. And they discovered that social engineering is at the top. As you can see, there are 8 different threat patterns: social engineering, web application attack, system intrusion, miscellaneous errors. And for miscellaneous errors, it's categorized under maybe misconfigured accounts or permissions. You have issues such as employees logging into their personal emails or unauthorized websites using company websites. You have issues about confusion about access controls and procedures. And then you have issue of poor practices. Yes, I mentioned the issue of privilege misuse, which can be unapproved or malicious use of legitimate privileges. So what's interesting from the findings is that 85% of breaches that were confirmed actually involve human elements. I think this is a scary statistic. And Out of this that comprises human element, you have phishing, which we will see later, and business email compromise. These have increased from previous reports by the same organization. For instance, phishing has increased by 11%. Business email compromise happened to be 15 times higher than what it was last year. And 61% of the breaches involve credential data by external agents that are financially motivated. And then also the use of ransomware, it was found to be in 10% of the breaches, which was up by 6% from the previous year. And it was also discovered that some new tactics were used. So, as I mentioned, there are so many examples of social engineering attacks or types. One is phishing. I'm originally from Nigeria, and chances are that some of you listening to me might have come across an email from a Nigerian prince sending you some proposals for lucrative business, telling you that they are somewhere in a refugee camp in Africa. Maybe their parents or their dad was a king in one of the cities and died, and that you should send him or her your account details. So these are some of the phishing attempts, the traditional or classical phishing attempts, but things have changed now. The bad guys are also dynamic. They are beginning to utilize voice for their phishing activities. This is called Vishing. You will see an example. They also utilize SMS. It's called smishing. And then a sophisticated one is the use of spear phishing. So this is a targeted attack. For instance, it could be your competitor, the closest competitor that is not happy with your business progress, want to target your business, and then you take time to target your employees, probably from social media, from LinkedIn. You can get their details and then use it to attack them. Another phishing example is the use of malware in an email, and once you open it, then it exposes your details. An interesting one is also the use of search engines. You have a search engines deployed. Users are using it to search, not knowing that once you put information there, it exposes you to phishing. Another social engineering attack is baiting, where you are lured or you are trapped into revealing certain information, or there are certain ways someone can just drop a USB stick in a parking garage or maybe near your car, and you'll be tempted to just pick it up. And once you insert it in your system, and then it deploys maybe certain malwares that will affect everyone in your organization. We also have pretexting, which involves a kind of a forth and back communication until information is revealed. We are going to see these examples in a short video shortly. So if you are interested in some other examples of phishing, I would recommend you read the survey by Saladin and Kabuch. They were able to summarize several examples of phishing, social engineering attacks. Again, I also had a look at Barracuda's 2021 spear phishing report. They analyzed about 12 million attacks targeted at corporate organizations. So in the data, they have more than 3 million corporate inboxes. And the analysis is also scary, that 1 in 10 social engineering attacks are business email compromise. 43% of the phishing attacks impersonate Microsoft brands. And then an average organization is targeted by over 700 social engineering attacks in a year. We also have 1 in 5 business email compromise attacks target employees in sales roles. So this is very important. Sometimes it's not the IT guys that are targeted, but the staffs in maybe the finance department and the help desk, the target of some of these bad guys. It also stated that IT staffers receive an average of 40 targeted phishing attacks in a year, and that an average chief executive will receive 57 targeted phishing attacks in a year. And recently, cryptocurrency-related impersonation attacks have grew by 192% in just 6 months. Now, as I said, I have an interesting video where you see an example of how people reluctantly will reveal their passwords without knowing. I will advise that if you are using earpiece, that you be able to control the volume. It might, the sound may be high.
You know, we've been hearing a lot about cybersecurity lately, largely, and it's great that the government is working on this, but the truth of the matter is we need to do a better job of protecting ourselves. You know, the most popular password in the United States is password 123. And as long as that's the case, we're vulnerable. So today we sent a camera out on a Hollywood Boulevard to help people by asking them to tell us their password. And this is how that went.
We're talking about cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's its name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where'd you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
It's like my cat's name and then just like a random number.
Okay. As if you had this cat for a while?
Yeah, she's my childhood pet.
Aw. And what's her name?
Her name is Jolie.
Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
So like a password of yours would be Jolie and then a number.
Yeah.
Like number 1?
Like my birthday.
Oh, when is your birthday?
June 12th.
Oh, nice. And what year were you born?
95.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
So Jolie, 6, 12, 95.
Yes.
Got it.
So you mean to give my password right now? No, I cannot do that.
But we all want to know what it is so we can tell you if it's strong or not.
Oh my goodness. Let me think. Okay, one is Tel Aviv. Yeah. 4, 6, 8, and then Israel. It's only 3, but it's, you know, it's for me it's strong enough.
Ireland, 1, 2, 3, 4. Gemma, 1, 2, 3. Spelled G-E-M-M-A.
Well, most of them are Italian.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Like
so
what? Like what's a good Italian password?
my grandma's name,
What's your grandma's name?
Maria.
Maria. So Maria is your password?
Oh yeah, now you know my password. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, the important.
So you can see how reluctantly people can easily give out some sensitive information. So this also is another short video that talks about voice phishing. This is another interesting one.
So I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas for DEF CON, the biggest hacker convention of the year. They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
Do you want to do a sample Vishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice elicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it. Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. My husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for usage information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and Can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com?
Jessica gets access to my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry. So there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right. Thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're going to have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a crying baby, which signifies or demonstrates urgency. So these are some of the things that these bad guys usually utilize in order to hack into organizational systems. So how do they normally go? For instance, the life cycle. Sometimes it takes time for them to execute this process, depending on how successful they are in terms of establishing relationships. So initially, they have a plan. As I say, it could be your competitor nearby. They have a target organization. Then the next thing is they will go and start finding information. They can go to social media, LinkedIn. They can even go around and to where you are working or where the organization is, the address, and begin to establish some relationships and rapports, sometimes into even sharing some of their maybe family pictures with you so that you now establish that kind of trust. Once they know that the trust has been established, then the next they will go to exploitation. Now at this step, depending on the approach they use, if it's physical, they can even follow you to the organization, maybe help you open your door and then try to sneak into the organization and get a hold of maybe a system that is being used in the organization. They could also use spear phishing attack and then get hold of your credentials, and then finally they can then execute their mission. So I have a typical, maybe a simple example here, whereby you have an attacker that is interested in a sensitive information in this database, but the attacker is prevented by a firewall that the organization is using. And then it happens that this host was compromised. So probably the attacker now decided to go and gather information about the employees, and then he was able to get in touch with this particular person, probably the help desk, and then he was able to send a phishing email and was able to get hold of this host account or computer. So now imagine, because I said these things takes time, imagine there was a previous remote desktop protocol connection between this host and then this host that has the sensitive information. And then it happens that the credential that was used for accessing this host was cached on this host. Then the attacker can perform some credential stealing, because there are so many ways to do that, and then can literally move from the host straight to where this information is, and then the attacker will be able to just execute his or her mission and take this information. Yeah, so the final video I have is also 2 minutes. It talks about how help desks the account can be hijacked.
What do you think of when I say the word hacker? Some creepy dude in a basement? Well, that's a misconception. What if I told you there's a class of hackers who don't just have social skills, they have more social intelligence than anyone you'll ever meet? David Kennedy is one of them. He's what's known as a social engineer, or a people hacker. His craft is to dupe you into doing things and sharing information you probably shouldn't.
Can I just get your credit card number?
Some use it for illegal activity. In David's case, companies pay him to find out if employees are leaving the company vulnerable. He and his team show us how it's done. Step 1, spoof his number so it looks like he's calling from inside the company, and then call tech support.
Hello, you there? Hello?
Hi, this is Ken. How may I help you?
I was wondering if you can take a look at a website I'm trying to get to. It's for a big customer thing I'm working on for Monday, and I can't seem to get to the website from my computer.
Sure. What's the website? I'll see if I can get to it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the help. I mean, it could be a stupid thing. I'm really stuck with computers, but so it's www.survey. That's SURVEY -pro.com.
Yeah, I got a prompt to open. I just clicked open, and I'm at the site now.
Here's what the IT guy doesn't realize. By clicking that link, he's just given David full access to his computer.
Whoa, okay, that's weird. I just hit it and it works. It seems like it's working fine now. Awesome. I don't know what you did, man, but I really appreciate the help.
Hey, no problem. That was easy.
That was it?
We're on his computer right now.
You were able to take over this guy's computer within, I would say, like under 2 minutes.
Under 2 minutes, yeah. Under 2 minutes, took over his entire computer, and think of it as not just his computer, but it's pretty much a downfall of the entire company.
In this case, the company was paying David to hack them and see if their employees would fall for it. They did. To show you this demo, we agreed not to use the company's name. Kennedy hacks to protect. He's part of a growing number of hackers using this skill for good. Josh Corman's one of them too. He started a group to help bridge the gap between hackers and big companies.
Hacking is a form of power. Not surprisingly, as you walked into my house and saw all the Spider-Man stuff, I'm a big fan of the Stan Lee line of with great power comes great responsibility. We're coming to a point where the outside world, with a breach a week, a breach a day, affecting people's personal lives and national security, we got to grow up a bit, and we need to be very deliberate about how we use that power.
Corman formed the group after his mom passed away.
She was my science teacher. She kind of taught me that darkness is the absence of light, cold is the absence of heat. You know, if you see something missing in the world, maybe it's our job to put it there. I think the world's going to be whatever we want it to be and whatever we make it. There are very, very bad people, which means it falls to the good people to try to fight it.
You feel like you have a very personal responsibility.
We have so much potential to shape our culture, our values, our safety. If not us, then who?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. If not us, then who? So this leads us into the issue of how do we secure the weakest link? How do we tighten the weakest link? So one of the issues I think widely accepted or the approach is employee training. Many insider threats are unintentional. I see that the employees are not aware of these tactics by social engineers. And so education is very important. Educate and train employees on how to safeguard environments, and that will technically reduce chances of introducing vulnerabilities into an organization. I had the opportunity to work with a few organizations. I can sit down here and be able to think in my mind and evaluate the security posture of some of these organizations. Now, if an organization is employing new staff, I think it's good if there's a kind of cybersecurity awareness program that will score the new employees based on a certain training, cybersecurity training. And if they are able to pass to a certain threshold, that is only when they will be able to get access to some resources or some devices for such organization. And there should be a kind of a continued education program that will be able to empower the employees so that they will be able to identify social engineering attacks. Another opportunity is it can be external. So for instance, you are hiring IT staff and those especially that will be working in your information system section of your organization. It would be great that if those new staff will be trained. If you don't have the capabilities, you can engage outside services so that these new employees will be able to go a step ahead of the bad guys understand the mind tricks and the psychological tactics the bad guys are using. So for instance, here at CIC, we have a research-intensive cyber knowledge studies called RICS, whereby we partner with industries and then train new staff in a variety of areas, including social engineering and the aspect of communication. So you can go through, you can search this research-intensive cyber knowledge studies, CIC, you'll be able to get more information on this. Now, in terms of challenges, yes, there are some existing solutions that leverages machine learning that are being used, for instance, for anomaly detection to identify risky activities by users and entities in a network. But the challenge is that those tools or applications are not like, you cannot use them straightforward. Sometimes you need some customizations in order to be able to use it to suit your current posture, organizational posture, cybersecurity posture. Another issue is the privilege misuse and human error detection is a very challenging task to detect. Sometimes it takes several months or even years to discover such activities. So in this case, one thing I would say is that CIC has a lot of expertise in this area. If you are an audience here and then you are representing an organization, you could reach out to CIC. Just go to our website. You can contact Farouk, is the contact person, but you can contact any of us for any research and development opportunity. So to conclude, I was able to get some code from some convicted social engineers. One is Frank, who was famous in issuing fake checks since he was 15 years. According to him, there's no technology today that cannot be defeated by social engineering. This may be technically true. And then Kevin Mitnick is also a convicted hacker. According to him, companies spend millions of dollars on firewalls, on encryption and secure access devices. And he says it's money wasted, that none of these measures address the weakest link in this security chain. Even though I agree with most of what he said, but I don't believe it's actually money wasted, except if just in terms of weakest link. To me, cybersecurity awareness, research, training, strong security policies and auditing, regular monitoring, I think are key. So this is my recommendation for organizations. Awareness, research, training is vital to ensure that social engineering vulnerabilities are mitigated. Thank you very much.